Configuring folder redirection is our next topic, a way to basically anchor specific user profile folders in a network location, but not allowing them to roam as we discussed in the last topic. So folder redirection is like roaming profiles only in the sense that we designate a network location for the folder or folders that we want to redirect. But rather than having the profile data travel around the network and following the user around, in folder redirection, Windows simply points the user to the redirected location, hence the name. We set up folder redirection through group policy, as we will see in a couple of minutes. So why would we do this, for example, versus the roaming profile approach? For one thing, folder redirection normally requires substantially less network bandwidth because we're not moving files around that the user may or may not actually even ever need to open. Secondly, there's no worry about leaving leftover profiles on hard drives, which might be the case, for example, if we have not carefully configured group policy to tidy up roaming profiles after they're no longer needed on any given machine. From the data security standpoint, redirected folders are more likely to get backed up than non-redirected folders. Globomantics, like most companies, takes care to back up its servers, but doesn't bother much backing up most of its employees' workstations. Now, because folder redirection automatically enables the offline files feature for redirected profile folders, users still have a locally cached copy of their profile folders that they can use when they're not connected to the network. And finally, to the extent that user files live on the network rather than on the local drive, we can perform easier and faster migrations by not having to worry about migrating profile data with the USMT, or at least not as much profile data. FYI, another downside of roaming profiles is that if a user is logged into more than one PC, the log-off synchronization can overwrite changes made on one of those other PCs. So if you think about it, folder redirection and roaming profiles really have the same goal, to make user data available wherever it's needed, but they use fundamentally opposite methods to achieve that goal. In one case, the data follows the user around the network, and in the other, the user is basically given a signpost to their data's fixed location on the network. All right, well, let's see how we might set this feature up. I'm here on GMDC1, a Globomantics domain controller and file server. I've created a share named Redirect, and I've configured it so that everyone has read and write privileges. Now let's run Server Manager and get into the Group Policy Management console. And let's create a new GPO named Folder Redirection. So folder redirection is now a GPO linked to the globomantics.local domain. Let's edit it. So let's navigate to User Configuration, Policies, Windows Settings, and Folder Redirection. Now let's say we just want to redirect the Documents folder, probably the most popular choice. We right-click it, choose Properties, and we specify the location of the Documents folder here. So we could select Basic, for example, and redirect everyone's folder to that same share that I created, or we could get more advanced and specify different locations for different user groups. We'll just choose Basic here. And so now we can enter in the target folder location. And we can see that it builds for us down here at the bottom of the properties page the target destination for a sample user named Claire, GMDC1, the redirect folder, and then the Claire folder underneath that, and then the documents folder underneath that. There are some other settings up here that we can configure. Do we want to grant the user exclusive rights? Do we want to move the existing documents on the local profile to the new location? Probably that's a yes. And then what do we want to have happen when this policy is removed? Do we want to leave the folder in the new location, or do we want to redirect it back to the local C drive? And once we make all those decisions, we can OK our way out, and we've just achieved folder redirection. And so now back on my workstation, after a reboot to let that group policy setting take effect, we can open up File Explorer, and note that the Documents element of my user profile now has a synchronization symbol, a little green double arrow. And notice if I right-click, I have the option to synchronize that, because now it's being cached so that the copy on the network where it is anchored is also cached on my local machine so that I can work when I'm disconnected. And to verify that the redirection has taken place one more way, I can connect to the redirect chair on GMDC1, and voila, GWDOC now exists, and there's a documents folder underneath it. So the folder redirection took effect.